basically, he was like stealing a bunch of things, and basically he like taught himself how to fly a plane and then stole them. Basically. So I'm going to read this. This is from historylink.org, is where this story write-up comes from. So I'm going to read that to you guys. So I hope you enjoy. Beginning in 2007, a troubled teenager from Camano Island captured the nation's attention as a fugitive who managed to elude police through a daring series of escapades involving stolen cars, boats, and airplanes. Colton Harris Moore, born 1991, popularly known as the Barefoot Bandit because of his propensity for committing crimes without wearing shoes, became a media sensation and developed a rabid online following. Some hailed him as a modern-day folk hero. Others denounced his crimes, citing the enormous amount of property stolen from victims. After 2 years on the run, Harris Moore was captured in 2010 after crash landing a stolen plane in the Bahamas. Colton Harris Moore was born at the Skagit Valley Hospital on March 22, 1991, to parents Pamela Kohler and Gordon Moore. His father, who reportedly struggled with drug and alcohol abuse, abandoned the family when Colton was a toddler, leaving Kohler with sole custody. She raised her son on Camano Island, where they struggled financially, living out a meager existence in a ramshackle single-wide trailer. Kohler struggled with alcoholism, resulting in an unstable and often abusive environment. Colton began exhibiting behavioral issues at an early age. By the age of 7, he was running away from home on a regular basis. He would often spend days at a time out in the nearby forests. As a matter of survival, he started breaking into vacation homes where he would steal food and various camping supplies. His first conviction for stolen property came at the age of 12, and within a year he had begun serving time at juvenile detention centers due to even more convictions. Harris Moore attended Stanwood Middle School, but was eventually transferred to Lincoln Hill Alternative School due to ongoing disciplinary issues. His school experience at Lincoln Hill went much the same, and by the 9th grade he slowly stopped going to school and eventually dropped out. During this period, Child Protective Services paid several visits to the family residence due to suspected neglect or abuse, and Colton was placed in temporary foster care. No longer tethered to the public school system, Harris Moore continued to run afoul of the law, and on July 14th, 2006, a warrant was issued for his arrest after he failed to attend a mandatory court date. Upon learning that he was now wanted by the police, Harris Moore went on the lam. He set up hidden campsites deep in the Camano Island woods and continued his practice of burglarizing homes for food and supplies. Some of the homes he had broken into had computers, which he began accessing in order to teach himself how to steal identities. He would order credit cards in the homeowner's name, which he would then use to purchase food and high-tech survival gear, such as night vision goggles that helped him stay ahead of the police. Harris Moore was captured and arrested on February 9th, 2007. He had been on the run for more than 6 months and was now facing 23 criminal charges, most of which were due to residential burglaries. He made a deal with prosecutors and pleaded guilty to 3 of the crimes, leading to a 3-year sentence at Green Hill School, a high-security juvenile detention facility in Chialis. Harris Moore proved to be a model student inmate at Green Hill School and was transferred to the Griffin Home Residential Treatment Center on February 14th, 2008, located in Renton. Griffin was a minimum security halfway home used to transition troubled youths back into society. Many speculated that his exemplary behavior was merely a ruse in order to relocate himself to a place with better escape opportunities. 2 months later, on April 29th, he proved such theories correct when he slipped through an unlocked window at Griffin House. A felony warrant was soon issued for his arrest. After breaking out of Griffin home, Harris Moore stole a car and returned to Kamano Island, where he resumed his habit of breaking and entering in order to steal food and supplies. This time, local authorities were better prepared and mounted an aggressive campaign for his capture. The local media also had taken notice, and news stories soon began appearing about this mysterious teenage outlaw. On July 18, 2008, the coverage of his ongoing saga received a significant media bump when sheriff's deputies on Kamano Island gave chase to a black Mercedes that had been seen driving erratically. As the police cars closed in, the driver of the Mercedes suddenly jumped out and ran off into the woods. When police searched the Mercedes, they found an assortment of stolen credit cards, cell phones, and a digital camera that the driver had used to take some self-portraits. Harris Moore was quickly identified as the person in the photos, including an image he took of himself, in which he is seen lying on his back in the middle of a forest and looking straight up at the camera. The now iconic image was widely disseminated online, resulting in a growing fan base that began following the details of this ongoing crime saga. By this time, the 17-year-old fugitive had earned a catchy nickname resulting from his habit of committing crimes while barefoot and sometimes leaving footprints behind. Among his growing legion of fans, he was now becoming known as the Barefoot Bandit. Due to all the legal heat, Harris Moore decided to escape from Kamano Island and used a stolen boat to relocate himself to Orcas Island. Soon after his arrival in August 2008, the San Juan County Sheriff's Office began receiving an increasing number of burglary reports, causing widespread alarm throughout the small island community. Things reached such a critical level that on October 2nd, 2008, the Orcas Island Chamber of Commerce held a special meeting to address the sudden plague of sophisticated break-ins. Police ramped up efforts to catch the person responsible, who by now was strongly suspected as being Colton Harris Moore. Give me 1 second. Sorry. On November 12, 2008, Harris Moore decided to escape the police dragnet that was now set up for him on Orcas Island and stole a Cessna 182, a single-engine airplane, from a hangar. Despite having no previous aviation experience, he was able to successfully take off from the island and fly 300 miles to the east, where he crash-landed the aircraft on the Yakima Indian Reservation and escaped before authorities could arrive. It is believed that he taught himself to fly from reading aircraft manuals, watching instructional DVDs, and the countless hours he spent playing Microsoft Flight Simulator, a favorite of his since he was a young child. When police searched the plane, a telltale sign of footprints was discovered inside the cockpit, confirming Harris Moore as the likely suspect. As it turned out, the stolen Cessna belonged to Bob Rivers, a popular radio show host on Seattle station KCOK-FM. Rivers learned of the theft immediately after signing off from his morning radio show. A year later, when Harris Moore was still on the run, Rivers commented about the incident, telling radio listeners, "I don't buy this folk hero stuff. I was furious that something like this could happen. I really want him caught." Following the plane heist, Harris Moore stole a series of cars and stayed on the move, traveling between such places as Reno, Sacramento, and Eastern Washington. While on the run, he had 10 charges filed against him by Island County prosecutors, including identity theft and illegal flight to avoid prosecution. Returning to Kamano Island in May 2009, Harris Moore resumed his cat-and-mouse games with the Island County Sheriff's Department. In the early hours of June 19th, 2009, he broke into a patrol car that was parked in front of a deputy's house and stole police equipment, including a cell phone, an official issue police rifle, and a supply of ammunition. In response, the sheriff's department ramped up efforts to capture the teen outlaw, though by this time Harris Moore, now 18, had become quite calculated, careful, and meticulous in his activities. He always managed to stay several steps ahead of law enforcement. Throughout the summer of 2009 and well into the fall, he continued his pattern of island hopping. On September 11th, 2009, he stole his second plane, a Cirrus SR-22, from the San Juan Island Public Airport and flew it to Orcas Island, landing it on the island's public airport runway. From there, he stole a boat and sailed to Point Roberts. A path of burglaries then stretched... A path of burglaries then stretched across British Columbia, eventually coming to a stop at Bonners Ferry in northern Idaho. On September 29, 2009, he broke into a Bonners Ferry airplane hangar and made off with a Cessna 182, his third stolen plane, which he managed to fly 260 miles to the west. Camano Island had been his intended landing site, but the plane ran out of fuel, forcing a crash landing near Granite Falls. During their investigation of the Idaho airplane hangar, police discovered a telltale set of footprints. Kohler, when asked about the plane theft and her son's involvement, told reporters, "I'm proud of him. I was going to send him to flight school, but I guess I don't have to." Girl, what? Okay. On October 2nd, 2009, a new felony warrant for forced entry burglary was issued for Harris Moore's arrest, followed 2 months later by a federal arrest warrant resulting from the theft of the Bonners Ferry airplane. By this time, he had become the prime suspect for approximately 100 thefts throughout Washington, Idaho, and Canada, most of which involved cars, airplanes, and speedboats. That's crazy. Undeterred by the charges piling up against him, he commandeered yet another Cirrus SR-22 from the Anacortes Airport on February 10, 2010, which he later landed on Orcas Island. The following day, he burglarized a local store, homegrown grocery, stealing more than $1,000 in cash. Embracing his nickname, he used chalk to draw a trail of cartoonish-looking feet that snaked up and down the aisles of the store. The footprints ended with a taunting message, "See ya." See, my question. Well, I mean, I guess you can't put people at every airport that exists, but if he keeps going back to the same friggin' islands, or like the same place, why are y'all not waiting? I don't know. I would just be waiting because he's playing y'all. But, okay. I don't know. It's very interesting. At this point, the Federal Bureau of Investigation and the Department of Homeland Security had also become involved in the hunt, and several agents were deployed to Orcas Island. Coast Guard cutters patrolled the offshore waters on the lookout for suspicious watercraft, and a Black Hawk helicopter was flown in to help with manhunt efforts. Again, Harris Moore was able to escape the island and make it to nearby San Juan Island, where then he piloted a stolen boat back to his home terrain on Camano Island. Soon after, the FBI placed a $10,000 reward for information leading to the arrest of the 19-year-old fugitive. On May 31st, 2010, a handwritten note and $100 in cash was found at a veterinary clinic in Raymond. The note read, "Drove by, had some extra cash. Please use this money for the care of animals. From Colton Harris Moore." presence in Washington and made his way across the country in a series of stolen vehicles, making it as far east as Illinois. On July 4th, 2010, a Cessna was reported stolen from an airport in Bloomington, Indiana, and was immediately suspected. Harris Moore was responsible for the plane's theft. His intended destination was Cuba due to his lack of extradition treaties with the U.S. government. Harris Moore used his piloting experience to make it as far as the Bahamas, where he was forced to crash land the plane near Great Abaco Island. After the jagged landing, he found his way to a nearby fishing village, where he survived for several days by stealing food from nearby stores and restaurants. On July 11, 2010, Harris Moore was captured just before dawn at Harper Island, Bahamas. Thanks to a series of tips from local residents, the Bahamian police managed to close in on the famous fugitive after he ran a stolen boat onto a sandbar and became stuck just a short distance from the shore. Not taking any chances, the police shot out the boat's engine and ordered him to put his hands in the air. Moore responded by putting a gun to his head and threatening to pull the trigger. He was talked out of it and soon surrendered to authorities. 2 days later, he was extradited from Nassau, Bahamas to Miami, where he was held until July 21st, at which point he was transferred to the Federal Detention Center in SeaTac. He was held there for the next 2 years while he faced numerous charges at county, state, and federal levels. After being sentenced to 7 years of state prison time and an additional 6 years by the Island County Court, he proceeded to Federal District Court in Seattle to face federal charges. On January 27, 2012, a U.S. District Court judge advised Harris Moore that it was time for a new life flight plan and sentenced him to 6 years in prison. That's okay. Harris Moore told the court that he was genuinely remorseful for his crimes. No, he wasn't. No, he's not. No, he's not. He's lying. He's a liar. That's such a bad lie. He planned to work, and that when he got out of prison, he planned to work to become an aeronautical engineer. Okay. His county, state, and federal prison times were consolidated, and he was transferred to the Stafford Creek Correction Center in Aberdeen to begin serving a 6-year sentence. You know, that's for 3 years he was doing what he was doing, and he got 6 years. That's like what? Okay. Soon after reporting to prison, he sold the rights to his life story to 20th Century Fox for $1.4 million, all of which went towards restitution per the terms of his sentencing. In 2016, his mother Pam was diagnosed with stage 4 lung cancer. Given her terminal prognosis, Harris Moore set up a GoFundMe soliciting funds to have his mother's body cryogenically frozen, with the hope that her body could be later revived and cured of her cancer when technology allowed for such things. Cryonic preservation is the only solution to save Pam, he wrote on his since-deleted GoFundMe page, where he sought $230,000 for the procedure. His mother died on May 17, 2016. At the time of her death, Harris Moore had raised only $2,170. Since he had him as his goal, the money was refunded to donors. On September 2nd, 2016, Colton Harris Moore, age 25, was released from prison on probation and went to live at a halfway house near Seattle. He took a part-time clerical job with John Henry Brown, the Seattle attorney who had represented him in court. In December 2016, he started another GoFundMe page, hoping to raise more than $125,000 for flight school training. Okay. As he wrote on his page, now I'm 25 years old, free and ready to do it, fly legally. I love airplanes, but I will never steal one or break the law again. I broke the law bigly when I was younger, but now it's time to focus on my career and live in the free world million he had received from 20th Century Fox. He still owed his victims $129,000. As a result, he was ordered to halt fundraising efforts until the balance had been paid. His GoFundMe page had raised $116,000, my bad, all of which went to the court-ordered restitution on his Twitter account, which has since been deleted. Harrismore tweeted, "I feel like my dream has been crushed. What a terrible feeling. Fed shut down. ... What did you think was going to happen? What did you think was going to happen?" As of September 2022, his last public appearance occurred in May 2019 when he was interviewed on KTTH 770 in Seattle by conservative radio personality Jason Rantz. During the interview, Harrismore reflected on his life, recalling how his lifelong interest in airplanes had resulted in his first memorable flight back in 2008 when he piloted a stolen Cessna. It's this uncontrollable obsession. That's really what it is. It's something that you have dreamt about and waited for your entire life. And out of all the possibilities for that moment, no matter what scenario or situation you could find yourself in, that one moment, you were exactly where you were supposed to be, and I wonder if I'll ever feel that again. It's one of those moments that I think you only get once or twice in your entire life. Looking to his future, Harrismore struck a somewhat pessimistic tone. "I think it's going to be difficult to have a normal life. I really do. In fact, I don't think I'm ever going to have a normal life." Since that interview, he completed his probation, has remained reclusive, erasing all traces of himself on any previously held social media pages. His current whereabouts are unknown. This is genuinely very interesting. I have never heard of that case happening. Well, I was also a child during that time. But yeah. So, yeah, he did plead guilty to the charges and everything. So at least that was good. So to recap what he did, it was a 2-year crime spree involving 67 felonies, which included stealing 6 airplanes,